If you're ready to step into your fit and healthy era, but want to avoid a lot of the common misconceptions that will just delay your progress, then this video is for you. Hi, welcome back. My name is Brianna and I blend science and spirituality to help you go from your current self to becoming who you want to be. I'm honestly not sure that there are industries with more contradictory or misinformation than the fitness and nutrition space. I have been deep in the fitness and nutrition space for over 10 years now, and I make a full-time living off of being a personal trainer and nutrition coach and have since 2018, so I would say I know a thing or two. There are a plethora of misconceptions that we could talk about, but today I want to go over a few common misconceptions to help you thrive in your healthy girl era and avoid some of the BS out there. Number one of the biggest and most common misconceptions out there is that if you follow and do exactly what this one person does, you are going to look exactly like them. I completely understand this misconception because I did this. I followed people on social media and loved the way they looked, and that's how I wanted to look. And so when they posted their workouts and how they ate and what they ate and all the things, I thought, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z just like they do, that's what I'm going to look like. This may be a really hard pill to swallow. I totally understand. But genetics play a huge role in how we look. So a lot of the people that you may know in person or see online who look the way they do largely look the way they do, like their specific build and how they develop muscle and all of those things because of their genetics, not necessarily specifically because of what they're doing. 10 of us could get together and follow the exact same workout plan and eat the exact same way, and we would all end up looking different just because of our genetics. In my opinion, the best thing that you can do is embrace your body type and your body shape instead of striving for trying to look more like someone else that you know. For example, I have really narrow hips and I store most of my fat in my belly. I would love to have wider hips. I would love to be a little curvier. I would love to have a bigger butt. I would love to be able to have abs easier. But the matter of the fact is that's just not how my body is built. But I don't think that getting caught up in that or spending too much time thinking about that really is a way to live. So instead, I embrace the body I have and do what I can to take care of it. And purely for your own peace and joy and relationship with yourself, I highly suggest working on doing the same. Number two, the second misconception is that you have to be 100% consistent. I know, your brain probably feels like that, and it can be so easy to get caught up in if you're not doing it in the most ideal way or perfectly or exactly how you think it's supposed to be structured or exactly how this person on social media does it, that it's not worth it. There's no point, that it's not going to be enough to get you the results that you want. It can be really easy for our brains to tell us that we need to stick with our goals or the plan that we wrote out for ourselves 100% and perfectly for it to work or mean anything, and believe our brains when it says that. I totally get this way of thinking, but it's not true, and this mindset can end up doing you more harm than good. Ultimately, the frequency in which you do something is a lot more impactful than how consistently you do something. What I so often see is that people will think that they need to be consistent, or they promise themselves that they're going to be consistent with going to the gym and eating healthier, and then when they don't stay in the realm of what they believe is perfectly consistent or consistent enough, they end up letting things go completely or believing it's not worth it or believing that they can't follow through with it, which is just none of that is true. So I want you to visualize something with me here. I want you to visualize a zoomed out calendar with all the months in it. And let's say August 1st, you decide is when you're going to start embarking on your health and fitness journey. And that's when you're going to start working out and changing how you eat. You start jotting down and keeping track of the days that you're sticking with things. And let's say by day 8, you give in and you eat a cookie. Or after a couple weeks, you start not going to the gym as often as you told yourself you would. And so because you're not sticking with things enough or perfectly, you let it go completely. So when we look at the calendar, we see that for 2 to 3 weeks, you ate better and you went to the gym. Okay, that did something for you, but probably didn't put a huge dent in anything. However, let's say instead of being worried about being really consistent with things, you were just focused on doing things more often and for the long term. Then let's say that's your focus, and so no week looks perfect, but instead of having only done things for 3 to 4 weeks, we look at that calendar and you've continued to do things. We're at the end of the year, we're stepping into 2025, and you're still going. You've made huge headway in continuing to exercise and changing a lot of your eating habits, because getting wrapped up in being perfectly consistent never led you to feel like you were just falling off the wagon. Number 3, let's talk about fitness trackers for a moment. Fitness trackers, meaning watches, the Oura Ring, Whoop, stuff in that nature, can be great for collecting data to refer back to or for looking at trends. I do not suggest using fitness trackers to look at how many calories you're burning in a workout or throughout the day, or for looking at how much you need to be eating. In my strong opinion, we can use the data that trackers collect to look at the trends in terms of calories over time. And I think there are very specific cases in which that really becomes super relevant. But for the most case, the calorie portion of the data collected should be pretty irrelevant. I also really suggest being mindful with your mindset when using the trackers. Trackers are not for everybody, and hopefully you know yourself well enough to know if having that data to look at every day is going to be something that affects how you feel and affects what you do, or if you will be able to just look at the data and view it as data. It's neutral, it's just giving you information. Maybe seeing your sleep score or your recovery score can help you decide how hard you're going to push that day. But in general, I highly suggest more so learning how to tune in with your own body and looking at patterns with your body to understand how you feel and knowing what action to take based on that. And understand that fitness trackers are extremely flawed. This is why I really like them for trends, not looking at them for specific data. They can be wildly inaccurate when it comes to tracking our workouts and our activity, especially our calories. And unfortunately, most of us aren't educated enough to know when we get these kinds of trackers where the inaccuracies lie just based on our own knowledge base. So for example, my Oura Ring is constantly putting my activity levels in the red. Now, mind you, I'm on my feet most of the day working with clients. I get more than 8,000 steps most days. I do all my own activities and workouts, and I go on a daily walk. And it consistently tells me I'm not doing anything, that I am a very sedentary individual, and I need to get up and go work out all the time. So I personally love fitness trackers, but use them mindfully. Number 4, the fourth misconception I have is that you need to do any one form of exercise. Oh my goodness, everyone has their camp these days. Either you need to barely do anything and keep your cortisol levels really low and just walk, or you have to lift. The only way to get a body worth having is to lift, or you need to do CrossFit, or running marathons is the way to go, or Pilates is the only way to get long, lean muscles. Don't get me started. At the end of the day, if we're coming from a health perspective, the best thing to do is to have some resistance training in your routine, some kind of weightlifting of some sort, and some kind of cardio, something that is getting your heart rate up. Now, there are a lot of different ways to do strength-based workouts, resistance-based workouts, and there are a lot of different ways to do cardio workouts or ways to get your heart rate up. But in an ideal scenario, from a health perspective, we have doses of both in our weekly routine. I'll also add, from a health perspective, it's really helpful to have a form of movement that you genuinely enjoy. Joy is huge for our well-being, and if we enjoy it, we're far more likely to do it. Really, what it boils down to is there's no one specific thing that you have to do. Find the exercise you enjoy doing and that you will go do. And if you have aesthetic goals, then the best thing for you to do is to follow a resistance training program of some sort and then do something outside of that, whether it's a specific cardio that you enjoy, playing a sport, some kind of activity that you can do with a community of people, and understand that nutrition will have the biggest impact when it comes to changing your body composition. Number 5, speaking of there not being one specific thing that you need to do when it comes to exercise, the same goes for nutrition. There is not one form or way of eating that you have to follow in order to get or see results. Depending on where you are with what you're surrounded by and who you know, it can be really easy for you to see some people who you want to have similar results to and think that the way to do that is through doing what they did. But one, there are so many different ways to get the type of results that you're likely looking for. And two, what works for one person does not mean it's going to work for another person. We are very bio-individual beings, so what works best for each person is going to look a little different. If you really want to follow a specific diet, then I highly suggest viewing it just as an experiment and doing like a reflection each week of how you actually feel, how it's actually affecting you, and letting yourself change your mind. The best thing you can do is eat mostly whole foods. And when I say that, I'm talking about real foods, stuff that is as close to nature as we can get it. Doesn't mean not processed at all, but minimally processed for a majority of what you eat. And make sure that you're enjoying your food. Find healthier options that you genuinely enjoy. Find seasonings and sauces that help you enjoy your food more. Make sure you're still including some of your favorite foods in what you eat. Try to aim for balanced meals, and that means being balanced in your macronutrients in terms of your protein, carbs, and fats. And if you are like, what in the world are you talking about, woman? There's plenty of information you can easily find out there about that. Definitely making sure you're getting enough protein and making sure you're getting your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals. And I don't mean taking a daily vitamin, but this is where the whole foods really play a role because they'll help ensure you are getting your micronutrients. You don't have to eat clean, or is what you might envision as what healthy eating is supposed to look like. Number 6. Number 6 is that you need to take supplements or eat protein bars. I feel like this has changed maybe a little bit from a few years ago. I mean, in the 20 teens, is that what we call it? I honestly don't know. But 2015 to probably 2020, oh my goodness, the fitness space online was insane, which it might still be. I don't get on TikTok. I don't follow anything. My algorithm does not pull up that kind of content for me anymore. But man, oh man, back in those days, it was like, make sure you're taking all these types of supplements and drink these protein shakes and eat these protein bars. And I feel like it was just shoved in your face like crazy. If you love protein bars, that's okay. I eat protein bars. But just understand that to be healthy, to be fit, to change your body composition, if that's a goal of yours, you don't have to take any kind of protein supplement. If you are pretty averse to animal proteins, then it's probably going to be really helpful to get adequate amounts of protein through a protein supplement. But it's definitely actually a whole lot better to get your protein from whole food sources, just because supplements and things like protein bars, those aren't regulated. So things can say they have a certain amount of grams of protein in them and then not. And you might be getting a bunch of fillers and who knows what else you might be putting into your body. Again, I'm not saying don't do it, but know that you don't have to do it. And there are a plethora of supplements out there in the fitness space, and you likely don't need any of them. My biggest advice would be to really do your research before deciding to get any of those. If I were to suggest anything, it might be creatine, but I'm going to allow you to do your own research on that as well. Number seven. Number seven is that you have to be motivated. Big misconception. And when you hear that, when you hear it is a misconception that you should or have to feel motivated to make healthier decisions or to go work out, you might be like, duh. But this is such a big thing. It is really common for people to think, and I'll say more operate from a place of, well, I need motivation in order to get myself to go work out, or in order to make these healthier decisions, or to meal prep, or whatever the case may be. Just a side note on meal prep, something that's super helpful, but also not something that you have to do. And people will see other people who stay pretty consistent with their health and wellness routines and their fitness routines and think, how are they always motivated? Like, what can I do to stay as motivated for them? The reality is that it's not that they're always motivated. And I'm saying this from a place of being someone who a lot of people probably would describe as being very healthy and fit, and having a lot of friends and people in my life who other people would describe as being very healthy and fit. And the reality is, it's not that they're motivated all the time. There are plenty of times where they don't feel like cooking or they don't feel like going to the gym, but they do anyways because they've decided this is who they are and this is the kind of life that they're going to live because of the outcomes it gets them. There are, of course, all sorts of other reasons too, but just looking big picture. So I really want you to just get rid of the notion that you have to be motivated. It is really cool when we are in a place where we are really inspired and motivated to do something, but that's not always going to be the case. And that's just normal. But understand that you can actually create your own motivation through your own thoughts and actions, and understand that you can choose to follow through with something and do something even if you don't feel motivated. And if you look at your previous experiences and go, no, actually, I'm not someone who can do that, I promise you that that's not true. I promise you. You probably just don't have the right tools. But a lot can change when you understand that you are the one in control of your own brain. Number 8. This is the last one that I have for you today. And this last one is misconceptions around your expectations. So you probably have some vision in your head of all the things you're going to do and the routines that you're going to have, and may think that your life is about to look like some influencer that you follow. And right now you're probably really amped up because there's this newness to it and this inspiration, and it's exciting to think about and plan for stepping into a new version of ourselves or creating these new outcomes that we want for ourselves. And because we feel that way when we're planning and when we're getting ready to step into that, it can be really easy to just believe and have the expectations that we're going to continue to feel that way, or believe that we're going to stay consistent with something because that's how we feel right now. And it's really easy to make that kind of promise to ourselves right now. But we can take a moment to get really realistic with our expectations, which is really helpful because when we have the right expectations, it's actually a whole lot easier to keep following through and stick with something. The reality is, we're human. We are creatures of habit. Our moods fluctuate. Our external circumstances fluctuate. And sometimes we're not going to feel like doing something. During this process, you are not going to be perfect. There will be times where you're going to make decisions that do not align with your goals or who you want to be. There will be times where it feels far more difficult to stick with things than other times. There will be times where you will feel like something else that you want feels more important to you in that moment than any of your health and fitness goals. There will be times when making the decision that better aligns with your health and fitness goals feels really uncomfortable because it's not what you're used to. And that's normal. All of this is so normal and it is all part of the process. It is far more easy to envision going from who we are today to being this new person tomorrow than it is to actually happen in reality. So it's really important to set up more realistic expectations for ourselves and understand that all of this is just part of the process. And anyone who now has all these fit and healthy habits has gone through this process at some point in some way, shape, or form. And it's important to set more realistic expectations with ourselves, because when we set unrealistic expectations, which usually is very unintentionally, it's just something that we're not necessarily aware of. The issue with that is that when we do make decisions that don't align with our goals, or do something that feels like we're failing or not doing enough or messing up, we then judge ourselves for it when, again, we're really just being human. And really, the times that we don't stick with something are actually the most useful, because that's what's going to provide us with the information that helps us learn more about ourselves and understand ourselves better, so that we can change our approach to better fit who we are. So there you have it. There are some misconceptions that I want you to just be aware of as you go through your own health and fitness journey. Like I said, the health and nutrition spaces, I swear, have some of the most misinformation out there. So be really intentional with the content that you consume, where you're getting your information from, how you're learning and growing your own knowledge. Really be discerning with who you're getting your information from, essentially. And understand that just because someone reputable said it doesn't mean that that one thing is the end all be all. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was really helpful for you. If you did enjoy it or found it helpful, of course, like the like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And I hope you have a fabulous day.